Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Cook That, where we make things more delicious than the sight of an open kitchen, of unlimited possibilities, filling you with determination. And I am your nerdy cook, Doug Grosser. 2015 is wrapping up, and it was a great year of video games. But one really stands out in my mind. One that, I'm going to get personal for a second. This game made me feel when I haven't been able to feel for a very long time. It was a great and wonderful game, filled with some of my favorite characters, definitely my favorite pair, and some amazing storytelling. Oh, and don't get me started on the music. The music itself was great. That game, Undertale, amazing. And in honor of that, and with the year coming to a close, I would like to present to you my recipe for Cinnamon-Butterscotch Pie. As you probably saw through the intro, the oven might be a little busted right now, even though we kind of spared it. I don't really want to think about it too much. So instead, we are going to be making a non-bake cinnamon butterscotch pie with a cinnamon graham cracker crust. Are you as determined as I am right now? Let's get to it.
Contrary to popular belief, pies are pretty easy to make, and this one is probably one of the easiest. You just gotta make sure that you have everything in order. So, starting in that order, let's get the crusts ready. So, just gotta get yourself some butterscotch flavor, i.e. brown sugar. You're gonna need some butter, 7 tablespoons. I don't know where anything is in here. You can't have butterscotch cinnamon without the cinnamon. Hey, excuse me. Can you pass me those graham crackers? Yeah, those ones. Yeah, thanks. You're gonna need about 1.25 cups of these guys crushed, which is about 10 graham crackers. So, yeah, would you mind doing that? Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Yeah. Got it? Yeah. Calm down. Calm down. All right. Yeah. That looks great. You even put it in a bag. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, little one. It's a can of beans, and apparently he's silent but deadly. And look at what he did. I don't understand this. I don't understand. Melt your butter, and then add 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then of course, your graham crackers. And mix to combine. Make sure you break up all brown sugar clumps. Now, if you live in a very dry environment, you're going to want to add an extra tablespoon of butter. The reason why is because in a dry environment, the graham cracker can actually hold more moisture, and you're going to need it to hold the moisture to be able to keep its shape. However, it's quite humid where I am here, so 7 tablespoons, just enough. I want it to look like wet sand. If you add too much, you're gonna end up with a pool of butter as it cooks. But this is good. Now, grab your pie pan. Obviously, make sure it's microwave safe, so basically glass. And then pour on your crust in waiting. You could use your hands to do it all, and that's more than efficient. But if you have a small container of any kind, it'll make it much more even. Make sure you push it deep into the corners so that it can go all the way up the side. And voila! A beautiful and, oh my gosh, very delicious smelling pie crust. Now, you never have to buy another one again. You can easily make it. But wait, say that it's not cooked, it's not ready? Well, that's where the next step comes in. Open up your microwave and stick your pie crust right in. You're going to microwave it on high for 30 seconds and turn it a quarter. Microwave it again for 30 seconds and continue the pattern until it's just starting to brown. If it gets too brown, your crust is going to be too brittle to hold your actual filling, and yeah. So 30 seconds, quarter turn, and repeat that 4 times. And voila, a beautiful microwaved graham cracker crust. Now, depending on how powerful your microwave is, it could take anywhere between 2 to 5 minutes. Mine took about 3. So just play around with it, just watch the edges. As long as these don't turn super brown, you're good. The smell alone is worth making this recipe. It just smells amazing right now. Now, let this guy cool and start preparing for the filling. Now, we're making a custard pie, and it might sound difficult, but if you put everything in place, it's actually very easy. But what are you putting in place? Well, let's take a look-see. In a pot, make sure you have 6 tablespoons of butter, 1 cup of dark brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of cinnamon, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Make sure you have 1 packet of gelatin that's been softened with 2 tablespoons of a dairy of your choice. We'll get to that in a second. And speaking of dairy, make sure of said dairy you have 1 1/4 cups, 3 tablespoons of cornstarch mixed with said dairy, and finally, 4 egg yolks. Each of these things are key to make a custard perfect. To make a custard, you need the egg yolks. To keep it sliceable, you're going to need structure with gelatin. To make sure that your yolks don't curdle or become scrambled eggs, use a little starch to be able to, make sure that the party doesn't get a little too rough. But which dairy do you choose? Now, you can choose anything from whole milk to heavy whipping cream. The more fat within your dairy, the thicker your custard will be. So whole milk will make a very pudding-like, very flowing custard, whereas heavy cream will make a much firmer one. Me personally, I like somewhere in between, so I always go for half and half. Now that we got everything in place, time to make the custard. Oh, and for a little extra flavor, have 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract on standby. We'll save that until the end because extracts are very volatile, which means that their flavor, it goes away very quickly. So, to the stove. Well, at least we don't have to worry about fire. Apparently Fire Ranger's out and now the Electric Ranger is in. Anyway, put your pot of butter, brown sugar, and cinnamon on your stove. Turn it to medium. Melt the sucker down until you have a nice liquidy mess. Once your butter's melted and you have a nice gooey, beautiful mess right here, place your spoon with a whisk to make it a little easier to integrate. And now, add first the gelatin, turning down the heat to about medium-low. Once it's all gone, slowly whisk in your dairy. Now we just added a bunch of cold dairy to this warm mixture. So now we have to let it warm up a little more before we start making the custard. Once you're nice and warm, take your egg yolks, beat them up. And now we make the custard. To make the custard, we do what's called tempering the eggs, which means we slowly raise the temperature. Because if you put it in all at once, like I said before, scrambled. Delicious, not what we're looking for. So, with your hot mixture, slowly pour in about half of it, beating constantly. If you let the yolks sit too long, they will curdle. So just keep beating until about half your mixture is in. Go slowly. You'll feel that it's significantly warmer. Once you're at that stage, that is when you take your tempered eggs and pour it right back into the pot. Beating constantly. Now, to ensure that this custard stays a custard and doesn't go across that threshold, that's where the starch comes into play. We made a slurry of your dairy and your cornstarch. That way you can integrate a little easier. One last time, just mix it around because the cornstarch likes to settle. And then throw it in. This also helps your custard set up in the end. And now you get your workout in. Keep whisking until it gets to about 160 degrees. Or you see little bubbles start to form. You'll know you're getting close when it starts to really thicken up. I'll show you. This can take anywhere between 7 to 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how slow you do it. Slow is better, as you're more likely to make your scrambled eggs if you do it very hot and very fast. And you'll know you are set when you take your spoon and it coats the back quite nicely like that. This guy, oh, he is ready. Or she, no judgments. Take it off the heat. Make sure before you go, you pour in 1 teaspoon of vanilla and beat it in before you stick it into the shell. And let the goodness flow. Maybe not. Pour into your baking shell. Look at that. Just give it a tap. Give it a shake or two. And simply smooth it out. Also, it gives you a chance to taste it yourself. Well, you did the hardest work. Now you gotta do the worst work. Waiting. Let it come slowly down to room temperature. After about an hour, then you can stick it in the fridge. The slower you go, the more custardy and the more creamy your pie will be at the end. But for now, let it sit on the counter. After about an hour, you can put plastic wrap on top, stick it in the fridge for at least 4 hours. If you do it any less, it's not going to be fully set. But overnight is even better. So, need repeat. Wait for me. Now, before the pie gets out of the fridge, there's one last optional but really good step that we can do. The pie normally is just the pie by itself. It's just a cinnamon butterscotch pie. But we can make it just that much better. We can make it a cinnamon butterscotch pie with sea salt with cream. And it's really to do also. All you need, a cup of whipping cream, half a cup of powdered sugar, half a teaspoon of vanilla, and sea salt. About 3/4 of a teaspoon of this stuff. Stick it all into a mason jar, like so. Make sure it's nice and chilled. And then, put the spurs to it. You're basically integrating air into it. You could do this via mixer, but this is fun. You know you've made it when you stop hearing it sound like liquid and start just sounding more like a thump 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 rather than a sloshing sound. This is nothing without the pie. It is time. As always, stay awesome, stay weird, my friends.
Hoi, name Tom, Pantom. Made pie, good food, like Tom flakes. Congratulations, human good, like peas, okay, boy.